Thank you. Now we'll go into our Policy and Personnel Committee.
Most of these are quite simple. Natalie, you can provide any feedback you think the board might need to know, or if there are any questions related to any of the policies that you see. Some of them are just minor edit change, but we are prepared to answer any questions that the board might have.
I got a couple of questions. You want to present what the?
You want to start with the first one, the cell phone use policy?
That's very
Well,
simple.
we can go with that one first.
So I think you said that we really don't have to have a presentation. If you have a question about the policy, ask the question.
That's so we're just going to the cell phone one
So
first.
I have one question about the cell phone policy.
Wait a minute, I have a question on cell phone policy right here.
Okay.
Don't let it get
Reverend
out of
Collins,
control.
you may ask your questions and then Cindy.
Okay, I see you have the smartwatches. We can understand that. But I'm a little concerned with the second page, the school leadership team. Since in conjunction with the School Improvement Council. Do all schools have a School Improvement Council, or does that include PTA? What do you mean by that?
Yes, all schools have a school improvement council, minus program schools.
So so that's not the PTA then you're speaking about?
Not necessarily the
Mhm.
same thing.
Well, what if you said they can modify the cell phone use to meet the needs of their school? Can you give me an example of that?
Absolutely. We've had some requests from schools, particularly in middle schools, where cell phones are allowed to be used in the cafeteria. And that has caused some issues in the cafeteria. They feel like students aren't socializing like they used to. It's caused perhaps some conflicts. And so some school teams have worked with parents and asked for permission to not allow cell phones in the cafeteria. So that might be an example of what that team might bring forward. Elementary, it's very restrictive already, so we would imagine that this would be used mostly by middle and high schools, where the usage is a little more free. In middle schools, it's obviously in the cafeteria, and if directed by the teacher, it can be used for classroom instruction. And then in the high schools, they also have use in the hallways. So if a high school was having an issue in the hallways or wanted to address usage between classes because of kids not getting to class on time based on cell phone usage, they could propose a change for their school.
So if the problem is cell phone use in the cafeteria, if that's a problem at some schools, why not just put that in the policy that no cell phone use in the cafeteria either?
Well, some schools are not having issues with that and are fine with the students doing that and not having major issues. So that's why it's more of a school by school. Only certain schools have had some issues, and we wanted them to have some flexibility in allowing to change that within the confines of the policy.
I understand you're going to maybe open up a can of worms because if one school can do this and this group of kids can have a phone here, the other group can have it there, and to me, you don't really have a policy when you do it that way. But something consistent across the board, for everybody should be the same. To me, is better.
I think the idea is to try to provide the schools with some flexibility.
Yes.
Until, if it becomes a problem, I think it's something that we would revisit, but, because I kind of battled with that as well, especially with elementary kids. Why do they even need a phone, period? But I think we should allow the principals to have some feedback and have some say about what's going on their campus. And so I think if we can do that, then we can monitor and see what's going on.
If you don't mind me asking just one more on that particular, what's the for violating cell phone use? What's the penalty for that? Let's say a student's using it in the classroom or using it in the hallway. What's the penalty for that?
Well, it depends on the level, and the brand new proposed PDP is, I believe you have copies of it. I don't have mine in front of me.
Well, I was out of town, so I didn't get a chance to look at that. But
Right, I understand that. So at the various levels, it would be different depending on the age of the students. But just having a cell phone they're not supposed to have is a teacher-managed referral.
Right.
If there's a behavior that occurs when a teacher asks you to put that cell phone away, disrespect or something like that, that could escalate that referral. But just actually having your phone typically the first request is to please put it away, and if that doesn't happen, usually the instructor or the adult will take the fund from that, for that class period, that time period.
Thank you.
Joyce, may I?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So I think my answer is embedded in here, because if, and I actually applaud you for allowing the schools to make some of these decisions. I think the board has said over and over, and certainly the public has said, our schools know what's best for their students. So this is a step in that direction. I just want to make sure, because we have a lot of movement in certain areas, it's going to be in the student handbook at the beginning of the school year, and it'll be a policy. The modifications will not happen during the school year. I just want to make sure we're going to have a smooth execution of what I think is a really good policy. Is it going to be in the handbook and then not changed for that year?
I do think there are situations that could occur during the school year if you're going to get the proper parent input into this decision. I don't think many schools would have that done this year by August, to be honest, because we're only on first reading. So I would say this school year, we may have schools who submit their plans throughout the year, but we would want to notify the parents of the change in writing, and obviously with some type of call-out system and on their website. So I think this year that might be a little different, but in the future we'd like to have that done by the first day of school.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Madam Chair, do we need to vote on these individually? Because I would move to approve.
She did that's the communication policy there. I just have one more question about, that'll be it for me. All right.
Can I make the motion?
Joyce is controlling this portion of the.
That's why I was asking her.
Yeah, if Reverend Collins have a question.
Yeah,
you can
I'm going
ask
to
that
the
question.
not legal residence, arrests, interrogations, students are in an arrest.
So are we going to make motions on these individually or as one set of all three?
I just thought he had an individual question about an individual policy.
Yeah,
And if that's the
student
question.
yeah,
then-
student interrogation.
And then if everybody's in agreement, we can just make one motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's a different representative that I need to bring up for
Okay.
for the policy. So just want
All right.
to make sure that there are no more questions for the cell phone policy.
No, not from me.
Okay. Yes.
Natalie, when would we anticipate that they would be
Eric?
implemented? This is first reading on these, so, I mean, like, I guess it wouldn't be maybe until the latter part of the year?
So, maybe for the cell phone policy? Yes, ma'am. So if first reading is approved, then second reading would obviously not be until August, and
And
it wouldn't be until after that reading that the schools could start working on it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Mr. Rodenbach? All right. So when you, on page, I guess the second page, these two, in the middle, where the red writing is, district and school administrators, teachers, and school resource officers may question students about any matter pertaining to the operation of the school and or enforcement of its rules. The staff member or school resource officer will conduct the questioning discreetly. And so the SRO, which is the school police officer, then you have the teacher. What I'm getting at, to make it short and simple, questioning children about a matter of anything or even a crime without any type of representation or any type of counsel or guidance. The goal is to obtain information about something, whether it's criminal according to this or not. So, do children have rights under the law that if they're being questioned by adults and they say something that may incriminate themselves or someone else, is there any protection for them without, if a parent's not there or someone to represent that child? Can you kind of elaborate that a little bit, see where I'm going at?
Sure. So students do not lose their constitutional rights inside of a school building, and I think that may be what the sentence regarding law enforcement's adherence to their guidelines refers to. and that they still have to fall within the same parameters of Miranda, for example. So if they're interrogating a student regarding a situation which may lead to a student implicating themselves about a criminal matter, then the same Miranda rules would apply. Either the child or the student, if they are of appropriate age and sound mind, would have to waive their rights, and or a parent would have to be solicited to the scene to be present for that interview, depending on that individual department's guidelines. I think what the policy intends to address is the idea that school resource officers regarding school-related matters in their questioning of students is not currently addressed in the policy. So the policy does address questioning of students by law enforcement for issues not related to the school. So for example, if there's an investigation about a burglary in a neighborhood or an abuse allegation at home, and the policy speaks to those scenarios, but not necessarily if an SRO is in a hallway and see the student doing something, what are the rules about them engaging with the student about whatever they're seeing?
But the policy written there says that the resource officer may question students about any matter pertaining to the operation of the school and no enforcement of its rules. So if it's a school-related matter, that would go first, to the teacher or something like that? Teacher or principal look into it first? In other words, why does it go to, why are the teacher and the police officer involved immediately? Why is the police officer brought in the scene immediately? What I'm asking about this policy.
Sure, I would say that the
Depends on the
typical progression
circumstances.
does go that an administrator or a school staff member initiates some sort of action that then requires the SRO to become involved. But I think that there's a lot more informal scenarios that happen. For example, an SRO monitoring the hallway during class exchanges and sees two students running down the hall, one chasing the other, and one of them has another hat from the other students. They want to stop them and say, whoa, 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 what's going on here? What are y'all doing? That there is them questioning the student about something involving the school. And so not speaking to that type of questioning in the policy was something that's created some question. And I just want to clarify that it is okay for an SRO to speak with a student if they observe something or if they're involved with a student about something related to the school, even if it's that student reporting that their cell phone was stolen or that student reporting a crime to the school resource officer. This policy gives them the cover to speak with them about that, but while at the same time requiring them to adhere to their own law enforcement guidelines, that if you do need to get a parent involved because your policy says you do, or there's Miranda implications, you must adhere to those at all times.
Okay, I'm gonna stop here, but go ahead.
Let me just say that this policy really is just cleaning up or putting in writing our practice. Because this already occurred, so SROs, like you said, they can stop him in the hall and say, hey, what's going on, why are you chasing him? And, that's just kind of one of the things that SROs get involved in, and we just wanted to make sure that we were able to point to something in writing for any parent who says, why did you question my child about this school-based incident?
Well, so you're saying just what I'm getting at. Well, see what this is doing, you're saying the police officer can get involved in school-related matters, maybe behaviorals or incident, or maybe two kids pushing each other, talking out loud. But it's put in the police department in charge of behavior in the classroom, in the hallway, and that's really not what this SR is there for. It's there to provide a level of security and safety. But this is putting him a part of our discipline process. And that's my problem with this policy, what you're writing, is that you're involving the police officer in matters that may not necessarily have ever escalated to the police department at all.
Sure, no, and I don't think the law enforcement agencies especially have any desire to have their
No, they
officers
don't.
go into the discipline world. We talk a lot in our SRO training with the SROs and administrators about what hat are you wearing as a police officer in that incident. So for example, you as the SRO in the school may be called in to wear your trusted adult hat. So you might be a trusted adult in that school who a student has a very positive relationship with, and you're being asked to get involved because you're somebody who might be able to speak to them to de-escalate a situation or get them to voluntarily comply with a request that's being made of them. But if you're unsuccessful wearing your trusted adult hat, but it's not something that would require you to take law enforcement action, the SRO then has to step back because it doesn't require them to put on their police hat. I'm not here as a police officer, I'm just here as a trusted adult who has a good relationship with this student and is trying to help. And so the policy allows them to continue to engage as just an adult in the school. So I'm an adult who sees kids running down the hallway. I'm going to address that as a responsible adult with the students, not as a police officer, because if you don't stop when I tell you to stop, I as a police officer am going to call the administrator to come deal with that situation. So it is a fine line they have to walk, but understand that if
Very
it
fine.
crosses into the law enforcement realm, a totally different set of rules applies than if they're just there as an adult helping to supervise kids.
Student concern specialists can handle that easily if, instead of involving the police department, those kind of matters. That's why they're there.
Well, but this allows the police officer to immediately engage to stop that safety issue. So if kids are running.
Just 1 minute.
Instead of them having to call an administrator to say, I see kids running down the
Choice.
hallway, it lets them immediately
I'll take a risk.
deal with that situation.
That's my next thought.
I think, Eric, you had a question?
Yeah, so I have some deep concerns about the existing policy and the way it's written. I have to agree with some of what Reverend Collins just stated. But you and I both know that police officers are trained to be police officers, no matter what, when, where. That hat is always on. So it may be a thin line, but it's a line that a police officer will always walk. But there are some room for some improvements here in this existing policy. It's something that we do need to visit, something we do need to look at, and do need to tie in with I guess wording is more important as far as our student handbook is concerned and what the students' rights are and so forth online. So I am not comfortable with even on first reading today passing this simply because I think there's just more detailed work that needs to be done to it. And I just wanted to make that statement.
So, and I kind of have to echo, we've had a couple of very, you know better than anybody else the last couple of years with the role of SROs. So it's kind of a seismic shift to wake up and find something that says school resource officers may question students about any matter pertaining to the operation of a school and or enforcement of its rules. It does look like we're opening the door to have SROs talking to students about why they're not obeying the rules of the school. It does look like we're having SROs being allowed to be asked by teachers to discuss things that are totally legal but are misbehaving. And I think it certainly raises a red flag given the shift that we've been trying to make to say that our staffs and our student concern specialists and the definite need for mental health and wraparound support services, I have to agree with Reverend Mack and Reverend Collins that the wording, maybe the intention sounds different, but the words say they can question a student about refusing to, park in the right parking place. And I don't know if we want to go down that road.
So we're not on a time frame with this, right? I mean, it's something we have to do.
There's not.
So
This is not
Can we pull it?
For those of you, we'll take it off as far as first reading as far as tonight is concerned. But those of you who have some concerns about it, if y'all could give us your recommendations so that we could consider them before we come to the August meeting.
Okay, Mr. Hollenshed had a question as
Okay,
well.
and I didn't know if his question was related to that same policy.
Yeah. Mr. Hollenshed, did you hear what Joyce just said?
Yes, sir. What I'll do is I'm going to pull some information down from my road trip we did a couple of months ago and what they do with their police officers, the SOR officers, and I'm going to see how it compares because they put them through a particular training and they don't use them in the same manner as what we're describing now. So I'm just curious to see on how Jeff can review it and see if it can be added to it or if we can do to make it better. That's all.
Okay. All right, Joyce, can we vote on A and B separate?
I'll move to.
That's up to you, I mean, sure.
It makes
I'd like
it
to move
easier
to
for the record
approve item
keeping.
5A and 5B and refer 5C back to the committee for further study.
One of the things is, though, the way our system works,
Right.
it doesn't allow us to lump.
So we can
it would be
do
much
A
better
and
for
B.
records keeping.
Yeah,
All right,
just
A
do
and
it one by one, 5A.
All right, so I move 5A.
Second.
Kevin and Kate, how do you vote?
Aye. All right.
Thank you.
Move to approve 5B
Second.
for first reading, if that has to be in there.
Kevin and Kate, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes, aye.
Thank you.
Are you gonna make the motion?
Move to refer 5C back to the committee for further
Second.
study.
And with that, just a notation that those of you who have some concerns, if you, y'all need to make sure we get your
Okay.
suggestions on the wording and et cetera, et cetera.
Got it. Thank you. Okay,
You need to vote on that?
did that pop up?
I don't have it yet.
No, it didn't pop up.
Here we go. Kevin and Kate, the motion is to refer policy 5C back to the committee with recommendation. How do you vote on that?
Aye.
I mean, I'd be fine voting on it first reading today, but I'm fine. It's okay. I'll vote to move it back.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. I'm in agreement with Kate.
All right, that motion passes. Is there any other public comments?
Thanks, Natalie, and other staff members.
No other comments?
Okay, all right.
Run to the restroom.
Okay, we will adjourn our committee to whole meeting, and we will resume back in 5 minutes.
Thank you.